I believe it is usually when you have taken a step away from what you actually know to be your truth. You were persuaded that something you were thinking of doing wasn't enough, good enough, big enough, right enough, mainstream enough, thin enough, tall enough, whatever that thing is. And at some point we have to say, I'm enough.
You're listening to the Almost 30 podcast, hosted by Krista Williams and Lindsay Simsick. Almost 30 started as a conversation about the transition from our 20s to our 30s. But then we realized life is full of transitions. So we expanded our mission.
We are an intuition-led, wellness-focused lifestyle podcast that promises to deliver authentic conversations, diverse points of view, and insights rooted in optimism, growth, and intention. The Almost 30 Nation community is a group of purposeful dreamers who are smart, passionate, and always seeking the full potential in every aspect of their lives.
At Almost 30, we're making magic together. We dream it,
and then we do it.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Almost 30 podcast.
Here we go.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Welcome back to Almost 30 podcast.
It's Lindsay Simsick.
And Krista Williams. That's how most people feel when they're thinking about me. Oh, God.
Wow. How will we take a collective sigh all over the world?
Yeah, everyone.
Oh, I was doing yours kind of sigh.
March. Which one? The rude one?
No, it's not the rude one. It's just the one that Justin was like, hey,
God.
stop sighing.
Every night. So before bed,
because I'm in the middle of them when they sleep at night. So I know.
I know. Yeah, literally. So every night when we all tuck in and I'm going to bed, I am doing my Reiki and I'm trying to do deep breaths, probably not breathing at all during the day. And I go, oh. And actually I don't. That's a lie. I go, and Justin goes, oh, and like calls me out. And he's like, stop breathing so loud.
I mean, relationships are so funny.
I'm like, stop snoring all night.
Best.
You literally snore all night.
But it's all that. It's like literally picking and choosing what you are going to call them out about and fight for and not.
Pick and choose and not.
Because there are so many things that annoy me about people. Honestly, it's probably a longer list than the things that make me happy about people.
Totally. It's like, well, the breathing. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing is I've literally worked my whole life to just ignore everything.
Exactly.
Dude, literally.
Well, but it feels good
like,
when you like work, when you move through it without commenting.
100.
When like someone's doing something annoying and you feel like the burn and you're like red hot and you're like, fuck, and then you just like let it go. And you're on the other side of it. You're like, wasn't that bad?
Yeah, you're like, I don't even care. Like it was like 4 years in and he's like, he like didn't know that he snored. He's like, I didn't even know that I snored. I'm like, oh man, you've been snoring for 4 years.
Why do all dudes snore?
All dudes. His nose is literally the size of like,
I know, it's so cute.
It's the cutest nose. It's the best nose in the world. I don't even know. It's like the size of a pencil eraser.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you have that much air traffic going through such a small space? But he's like, I didn't know I snored for 4 years. You didn't say anything. I'm like, it's one of those things I've chose to ignore.
I've dated actually a handful of people with deviated septums.
Dude, I had a friend, Sloan. Remember Sloan?
Yeah.
My like tiniest friend, she literally snored so bad. It was like a problem for her and dating.
It is pretty, like actually the one guy would stop breathing. So he would stop breathing for probably like, I don't know, 3-5 seconds. But the snoring was so loud that I was awake. He'd be like, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I have the paddles out. I'm like, oh my God. But they don't know. And then he wakes up and he's super tired. And I'm like, oh, you're not breathing at night. Wow. And you're not getting a really sound, deep sleep because you're not breathing and getting oxygen to your brain.
For real. For real.
Anyway.
I'm so excited about the episode this week.
Me too.
It was like,
I gotta say, we're just so proud.
Yeah.
And it's not about us. It's just like, this event was really something that came together in a way that was like a team effort, collective idea and vision. And it just was like so beautifully executed by the the Dermalogica team and YouTube and us and our friends. So,
and everyone just really was really honest and sparkling. They had great answers. No one skipped a beat. It was just really beautiful. And I just loved the way it flowed. And I just was so grateful that it was recorded by the YouTube team.
So we did an event for International Women's Day all about the fact that balance is BS. We get asked a lot, and I'm sure you out there think about sometimes like how you can balance, quote unquote, your life between work-life balance, all of that. It's such a trendy thing to talk about or to like try to figure out. And, Krista and I in interviews that we've done across the board, we're just like, we're not balanced, and so to really shine a light on that reality and that like, there's no shame in that. And there's a way to be really fulfilled and just like good to yourself when things aren't balanced, because I think that's how a lot of things get done. A lot of things like come to life. And I don't know, the panel was just incredible. Shall we run through the panel?
Yeah. And I just wanted to say on the balance thing, it was like, we'd be asked the question of like, how do we stay balanced or what is balance for us? And oftentimes it can be like another opportunity for us to compare ourselves to others. So it's like, oh, this person is running their own business. They have a relationship. They're traveling. They do X, Y, and Z. And they're also taking baths every night and meditating in the morning and eating, a super clean diet and journaling and dream journaling and, taking pottery on the weekends and hiking and all this stuff. So we just wanted to kind of speak to the fact that everything is in seasons. Some parts of your life may not have balance, and some seasons of your life may not have balance. And everyone's balance is different, or everyone's view and definition of balance is different. Mine is going to be very, very, very different than if I would have stayed and lived in Ohio. Or certain people in my life that I know. So just kind of pulling that back and just making sure that we're not using balance as a way to judge ourselves or to make ourselves feel bad for not incorporating certain things that people define as balancing.
And it just reminded me too that like we have seasons in our life, and there are going to be seasons when we're not working that hard, or we're working in a different way. We're working to raise a child, or we're working on, cultivating a relationship, or like starting, our life with someone, or starting a business. There is this awareness that certain things in your life need more energy, time, and love.
Yeah. Like if you have a kid, you're definitely not balanced.
No.
Because your focus is on your child and being, a mother or, however, whatever your situation is. So, to kind of worry about being someone's definition of balanced by doing certain things doesn't really make sense. So we were so down to that, Jane, the founder of Dermalogica, who was amazing.
Oh my God.
Incredible, was down with the topic for us to do that. And we just wanted to make it different. I wanted to do something different for International Women's Day. I didn't want to do just like awesome boss babes, whatever, which respect and love, because all y'all are boss babes. But I just wanted to do something that had a different angle.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done by us, but also really, just like the vision for this was to have a really honest, open, thoughtful conversation. And the panel was, everyone was kind of coming from a different point in their journey. It wasn't like all of them had made it and all of them, whatever, they're all successful in their own ways. But a lot of, at least half of the panel was in process, like had just kind of started their brands and really brought their vision to life. And we were talking to them in real time. So I really appreciated that. So on the panel, we had Danika Brysha. So she's a really good friend of ours. She is the CEO of Model Meals and a supermodel. Love her so much. And she's just been a dear friend and great support of the podcast. But she's created a business that, truly nourishes people, teaches them how to take care of themselves through, nutrition. We love Model Meals, but she's also, last year she went out on a 66 city tour.
She literally sunned us.
66.
She's like, you guys know about tour, right? She's like I did 66 fucking stops.
it was overwhelming.
I'm like, are there 66 cities in the United States?
Actually, that was a thought that went through my mind. I was
literally.
I was like 1, 2, 3.
Honestly, I was like,
And then we had Deepica. I'm going to pronounce her last name wrong. Mutyala, and she's the founder of Live Tinted. But Deepica was really awesome. I hadn't
super fun.
We hadn't met her before.
Yeah, super fun. A visionary, and her goal is to. She has a makeup line, Live Tinted, and they create shades for everyone. So she is a brown girl, self-proclaimed, and she wanted to find shades of makeup for her family, for her sisters in her community that she felt like weren't represented. So she is doing her thing with her makeup company.
Yeah. And then we had Sara Tan. She is the West Coast fashion and beauty editor at Bustle.
Cute peanut.
She's so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And
so sweet.
Yeah. She just added a different kind of flavor to the whole panel. She, didn't start a business necessarily, but is writing for brands and writing, she's at home working. So just creating boundaries was something that we really dug in with her about.
And she's in a space that people want to be in. People really look to fashion and beauty editors as someone that they look up to. She's super creative, super talented, super diligent, and then also so sweet.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And finally, Jane Wurwand. She is the co-founder and chief visionary of Dermalogica.
Say no more, fam.
Y'all, just wait. When this video comes out of this event as well, I mean,
one mic dropping is not enough. She literally, you guys, she was like, kept saying, I was like, dude, tweet. She kept saying tweetables. I'm like, what?
Wow. Yeah, I'm just like,
I'm so excited for you guys to hear. She's a badass.
And she also launched Found LA. It's a new initiative under the Wurwand Foundation. And it's designed to help make sure local Los Angeles entrepreneurs succeed and in turn revitalize and impact their communities and neighborhoods. President Obama in 2016 appointed her a presidential ambassador for global entrepreneurship. Okay.
And at the Dermalogica event, we had a lot of our friends there, but Letitia had some really good points. Our friend Letitia Roll, her Instagram is Blue Hazel, BLUHAZL. She's the best. But she was talking about Jane's comments on the panel. And she said, there are 3 things that I have to share with you that I learned. 1, you are custom built, which I thought was such a great thing for Jane to say. I've never really heard it explained in that way. And I think it's very true that we all have our own specific talents and gifts that make us different. Even if someone has a similar talent to you, they weren't born to the same family. They weren't born in the same place. They weren't born at the same time. So I thought that was really, really powerful. And the second was life is about resilience, not balance. So that was really the response to the balance is bullshit.
Yeah, her mom told her that, which was, she kept referring back to her mother, who was a single mom of 4 girls and was kind of like the person she learned all of this from, where her life was never balanced. She was doing her best and it was always coming from a place of love. I loved that.
It was powerful. And then 3, she said, don't shrink yourself. So when we asked what we wish or what she wishes that more women knew, she said for women to not shrink ourselves.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I cannot wait for everyone to listen to this one. Yeah, I was just reminded too, I guess the way that Jane carried herself and all the women truly.
Yeah.
But I'm just speaking to Jane because she is older, more experience and just has seen more because she is
she's been
older.
In the game forever.
Yeah. And just to hear her speak the way that she speaks, the way that she looks at others when they are speaking, and it is so not only present, but engaged in a way that she can see people's light and potential. And, her point to not shrink, she interacts with people in such a way that makes them not shrink. So that made me think about when I'm interacting with anyone, whether it's a friend, family member, a stranger, the person at Starbucks cashier, right? It's just giving people the opportunity to expand and shine in every interaction that I have. And it's not always easy because I don't want to ever like put people down. But sometimes like if I'm having a day, maybe I don't really present the best opportunity for people to shine like under, my own circumstances. So that was really something I took from her that was not said, but I just like felt that.
Yeah. I mean, she just answered every question in the most beautiful, eloquent way. And everyone on the panel just really brought it. They just really made it seem very conversational. It was super cozy at YouTube Space LA. So we're really grateful to them for hosting us and for providing an amazing room, all of the team and staff that recorded everything. And then were able to give us these audio files to share with you. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Dermalogica, it was just like a dream team to work with. As always, and you guys know this from just the sponsors that, you've tried and invested in and heard from us. We really take pride in like the people that we partner with. So Dermalogica is just a really good example of that.
Yeah, I've been using Dermalogica for so long. I was
it's a staple.
Honored and grateful that they wanted to work with me through the blog and then, now us through the podcast. I am such a fan of their pre-cleanse. So, whenever we have full faces on for makeup, the pre-cleanse is an oil that I use to take everything off. It's super soothing, super gentle, and really actually gets all my makeup off, unlike anything else. So, not using petroleum jelly or Vaseline or the wipes, I feel like really clog my pores because you're really just wiping and you're moving the makeup to other places on your face.
Yep.
And then it's kind of drying. So I'm not a fan of wipes. I love their pre-cleanse. I love their
microexfoliant.
Yeah, their microexfoliant. It's a powder, so you can travel with it. So it's really large and it's a powder. It lasts forever. I use it on my face. You only need a little bit to exfoliate. And then I actually use it on my body too.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So we should be exfoliating your body, once a week or something like that to get rid of all the dead skin cells, especially if you're working out a lot. Your sweat gets trapped underneath your skin, underneath like your bra and other places on your body where you're wearing very sweaty, tight clothes. So using that exfoliant regularly has been, just a game changer for me.
Yeah, they have a great vitamin C serum as well. I'm like into oiling the shit out of my face and body.
Justin's always like, you're so slippery.
Yeah, I'm like shiny all the time and I love it.
Mind.
People are like, you're shiny in this photo. I'm like, good.
I know, honestly. The oils are working.
I like it.
My makeup like slips right off. I literally put my oils on my body too.
Yeah, same.
I love it.
Before bed, I'm like,
So we are working with Dermalogica as a partner with ours, and you can get their oil, you can get the pre-cleanse, the exfoliant, any of their products online at dermalogica.com for 20% off.
With the code almost30.
Yes.
Holla. All right.
Exciting.
Should we do this?
Yeah. Last announcement. We will see you soon in Austin for our event on March 26th at the Refinery. This one's with Rachel Rosen.
Yes.
It is going to be so fun. We have great brand sponsors that are joining us. Flower Child is going to be there with awesome food for y'all. We have great swag bags. All the people that we love, Beekeepers Naturals, Home Nutrition, Dirty Lemon, Spindrift, Woo More Play, and more. You can get tickets on almost30podcast.com.
Yeah, cannot wait to see you. Come with friends or just come alone, meet new friends. It's going to be a blast. And we will be hosting the Good Fest in Austin on March 23rd. So we would love, love, love to see you there. You can use the code almost30 for a discount. But, the Good Fest is just a day-long festival. It's wellness, it's connection, it's like nourishing food, brands. Like it's just one of those things that I always feel so good leaving. Like I just feel kind of renewed, and there'll be workshops and speakers, and we're just really, really honored and excited to be hosting that event.
Yeah, you can use code almost30 and they are offering all of our family a discount.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Enjoy this episode. Let us know what you think. Share on socials. As always, we want to repost that and share with other people who might get some inspiration from this episode and any others. Subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. It means so much to us. And join the secret Facebook group. We're waiting for you in there.
We love you.
Love you.
Yes. Hello, guys. I feel like I'm just hanging at home with my besties.
Yeah.
So excited to see you. especially on International Women's Day, celebrating a very special holiday that I didn't know existed a couple years ago. So thanks Instagram for that. But really, we just want to share a bunch of insights and come together as women and kind of just be in community, learning and supporting one another. So thank you, YouTube Space, for hosting us. This is just awesome and cozy, and the staff has been so accommodating and helpful for us. And thank you to Dermalogica for initiating this and for asking us to host and for supporting these other women on the panel to share their story. Jane has been such a friend to Almost 30 and the girls on the team as well. So thanks to them for putting this on and for providing those amazing gifts that you guys have waiting and your goodie bags that you can use tonight. So when we were talking to Dermalogica about doing an event for International Women's Day, we were kind of trying to think of ideas of topics that would resonate with women and that would resonate with the people on our panel and provide value to the women that we brought together in the room. And one of the topics that really came up for Lindsay and I so often was the topic of balance. And people would be like, okay, how are you doing, running your business and having all your friends and having, your relationship and working on yourself and working out and posting on Instagram 24/7. And then are you staying balanced? Like, what's balance like? And every time I'd be like, I'm not the person for balance because I don't have it. But I realized that some women at some points in their life do have it. And at other points in your life, you don't have balance. But for a lot of us, balance can feel like another thing on our to-do list, and it can feel like something that actually provides us more pressure than makes us feel good. And balance looks different for everyone. So someone else's crazy is someone else's balance. Someone else's chaos is like the perfect medium for that person. So it just looks so different for everyone. So we wanted to kind of break that and talk to these amazing women, these entrepreneurs, about balance and then about their story, their journey, and really just hear from them some of the difficulties that have led them to the place that they are today to provide us some inspiration, as we women rise together on International Women's Day and every day.
And we are the Almost 30 podcast. I'm Lindsay Simsick, and this is Krista Williams, my best friend and business partner. Mm-hmm. And, as she said, we're asked a lot about balance. And I think through our relationships, whether they're a business partner, a friend, family, with other women, really do help us to keep accountable, just to take care of ourselves. And again, it's going to look different for everyone. So, what we hope in this conversation tonight is that, our panelists can serve as expanders for you. You can say, oh, wow, I've been there. I've felt that way. And maybe I can take a moment and do what they did and just feel better and put less pressure on yourself as you navigate this life and as you really find out what fills you up. So I'd love to take a moment and have each one of our panelists introduce themselves, who they are, and what they do.
Thank you. My name is Jane Wurwand, and I'm the founder of Dermalogica, a skincare products, and which seems an incredible journey because we started the company in 1986. We launched the product. So playing the long game as an entrepreneur. And I'm thrilled to be here. Nothing better than celebrating International Women's Day. And I think we have a huge responsibility in recognizing and celebrating that because women and men around the world look to us to speak our truth, set an example, and hopefully, if you see it, you can be it. And for entrepreneurs, I think that's really important. So I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you.
I'm thrilled to be here next to you. Oh my God. I'm Deepica. I've been doing the beauty influencer thing for the past 3 years. And about a year and a half ago, I launched a digital platform called Live Tinted, which is all about encouraging inclusivity in the beauty industry, something that I feel like is a long time coming. Being in this space, I started on the corporate side of the industry and then became a beauty influencer and really saw the holes from everything in between and launched this platform to really make it so girls can walk out the door and boys and whatever you identify as can just like walk out the door and feel good with who they are. It's been great.
Awesome. I am so thrilled to be here. I don't know how I ended up on this panel, but I'm going to stay here. My name is Sara Tan, and I am the Senior Fashion and Beauty Editor at Bustle. And for those of you who don't know what Bustle is one of the largest millennial feminist women's websites on the internet. We are based in New York, but I'm out here in LA holding it down, covering all things fashion, makeup, skincare, wellness, and just trying to produce content that empower our readers. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm having the same moment of just awe of you all. So thank you so much for having me. I'm Danika Brysha. I'm the founder and CEO of Model Meals. So it's a healthy meal delivery business. I also work as a plus size model. I mean, we could have a whole panel about it. As a plus size model in the fashion industry. And I work with specifically women on wellness and self-care. So I just got back from a 66 event tour last year where we traveled around helping women cultivate more self-worth, self-love. And I just feel really grateful to be the woman that I needed to see in the magazine growing up. I struggled with eating disorders and all that. So to be here and represent beauty and to see where beauty's come through brands like yours is just incredible. So thank you.
Beautiful. And we were able to go to one of our events on tour. It was magic. I don't know how you did it. But a lot of, honestly, 66, I was like, wow. A lot of you women even kind of touched on it. But for women, it's been such a beautiful thing for Almost 30 podcasts to interview people and female founders and female entrepreneurs and females in the space, because so much of what we do is so heart-centered. We don't really do anything unless it means something to us and unless it moves us or, will move other people. So that has been such a beautiful thing. I would love to hear from you, Jane. What were some of the defining milestones in your career that led you to create Dermalogica?
Well, I think just as you said, that everything starts with the why. Why am I doing this? Why do I want to do this? And for me, it was really simple. My mother had been widowed at age 38 with 4 girls to raise. I'm the youngest of 4. And the 5 most important words she said to us was learn how to do something. She was a trained nurse, so she fell back on that training to keep her family together, literally to put food on the table. And so I came into the industry because I got a Saturday job working in a local hair salon, fell in love with the industry, and realized if I have a skill set in my hands that I really learn about and really learn well, so I have it in my head, and I really love it, so it's in my heart, then with those 3 things, with my head and my heart and my hands, I can travel anywhere in the world. It will always be with me, and I will always be able to fall back on it. So I think a defining moment was my mother modeling that resiliency and also, really drumming into us, you better have something that you can do. It's not just about an education, it's about learning how to do something. And I came into an industry, and the crazy great thing about the salon industry is more women start businesses in our industry than any other industry in the world. 64% of all the salons are owned by women. So it's an economic powerhouse for women. So I think the defining moment was the fact that my father had died. It was a tragedy, but my mother rose to it and kept us together. And she just set an incredible example. And then I got my first Saturday job in the local salon, and that was it. I've never done anything else.
My first job was at Outback Steakhouse, so hostess with the mostest.
And most of us get our first jobs in a local entrepreneur, a small entrepreneur that started in your community. And one of the things I'm committed to is bringing back and building back our communities. We need our local entrepreneurs. We need our small entrepreneurs.
And Danika, I know, some of your story, and there's a lot that really led you to create Model Meals. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I struggled with food and my body for most of my life. Like I said, I didn't see anyone that looked like me in the media. I was a bigger girl. And so I decided very young that if I could just lose weight, I could be happy and I would be worthy. And so I spent most of my life with varying eating disorders and struggling a lot with food. And I moved to New York in 2014 as a model and decided to try out a different kind of eating, just eating real food and not so like diet and calorie counting. And I did something called the Whole30, and it changed my life. And it not so much like, it wasn't even the physical stuff, it was the consciousness. It was like I woke up and I realized that I had gotten used to feeling one way and not realizing that there was a greater experience for me. And so I continued, and it led me down this whole path of self-care, but I ended up losing, about 40 pounds, and I lost all my modeling jobs because I wasn't big enough anymore because I was a plus size model. And so I decided, I'm really passionate about this food. It's changed my life. And as a result, I'm putting this person into the world who is more conscious, who is happier, who is more connected. And if more people had access to this kind of food and I could make it easy for people to eat this way, then I can literally change the world, because what the food that we run on is the quality of the experience of life we're going to have. And so I just started cooking out of my apartment in New York City. I have a 200-pound dog. It's totally illegal to like run a food business out of your apartment. But I did it small scale, and it just grew. Like you said, it's not a long game since 1986, but it's a long game for, that's where I'm trying to head. And it's been really beautiful to see how this food is used. It's medicine, it's healing. And so just to put my energy into something that I love every day and that helps so many people has been really special.
It speaks from your heart because you have that experience.
Yeah.
It's your big why.
Yeah. Changed my life. Totally.
So good.
And in that, like, so much of what we do as women in business and just in life, we put ourselves into it. It becomes deeply personal, everything that we do. And for you, Deepica, you're the face of your brand in so many ways. And, you are. And, I can imagine that it's kind of hard to make it personal, but then not take things personally, right? So how do you kind of create that boundary?
I mean, it's tough. And even on the beauty influencer side, it's also so crazy to me hearing like how many parallels I feel with everything you're saying about like growing up. And that was the exact motivation I had of not seeing a brown girl in the media and feeling this sort of like, why not me feeling? And what did I have to change about myself? I mean, I dyed my hair blonde. I got blue contacts. I grew up in Texas, so I wanted to look like all the blondes around there. But it's just like, it made me so sad after entering into the beauty industry. And I felt like at a point I was like the token brown girl in all these beauty campaigns. And I did feel like I was like that face. And it almost like drove me crazy because there were so many other girls out there that they would DM me and ask me for like advice and things. And I was like, wow, you really deserve a shot. But because of my my network, quite frankly, of how I was on the corporate side of beauty, I just reached out to a ton of my friends who were all working at beauty brands. I was like, I'm an influencer, hire me. And but there's so many other people out there. So, even just hearing that I'm the face, that's actually the narrative I wanted to change and say that there's a whole spectrum of women that deserve to be the face. And that was sort of the ambition and motivation behind launching Live Tinted, is to sort of not make it about me, but a whole spectrum of people. And I think that honestly for me is way more fulfilling. I've always been more fascinated about the business side of the industry rather than, I'm not really good at selfies. I mean, it's not my thing. I know.
Please, I've seen your selfies. You're good at your selfies.
There's been a lot
you
of
just gotta
selfies.
keep trying. It's like 600 and you'll get one.
100 ones that happen before that one that you post. And I think like you eventually learn your angles.
Right,
but
yeah.
But I enjoy so much more. Like after we've featured some women on Live Tinted, they've gotten brand campaigns. And like that feeling is just like, it's so fulfilling, especially when you work in an industry like beauty that can feel so superficial. And I think, like you said, I wake up every day feeling excited about that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And for you, Sara, just to kind of keep on the topic of boundaries, you work from home.
Yes, I do. Oh my gosh.
So how do you...
It's hard.
We do too.
Yeah.
We do too.
You get it. Yeah. It took me a while to figure that out. But in terms of, balancing the personal and the professional, so I work for a company, and but I am sort of the face of the brand out here in LA. And when I started out as a writer, it wasn't to become the face of any of the company, or I wanted to just write stories and share other people's stories. And with Twitter was around when I started, and so I got to do that. But then Instagram just took things to a whole new level. And Bustle doesn't require all the editors to be active on social, but it's definitely encouraged. And I have so much fun on social media, like just sharing like hundreds of videos of my dog, just like all those sorts of things. But most importantly, it's given me the opportunity to connect with, our audience in a different way and our readers. But, it can get weird because it's like I am representing my company, but I'm also, I want to share my thoughts on Donald Trump sometimes, or, I'll be at an event, I'll be like just expressing myself, like who I am and being silly. And like, sometimes it'll give me pause and I'll be like, is this the right thing is this the right thing to share? Should I be doing this? But it's always like comes back to just, me making sure that like I'm being my most authentic self, and I'm, like sharing. First of all, I get to connect with readers and followers of mine who, like you guys, they'll tell me like, it's so cool to see someone who looks like me having a job like yours, which is like so cool. Like that just makes my job like so worth it, right? Or, you know, sharing a story that I wrote and that, you know, they'll tell me that it really resonated with them and they really connected with it. So that part of the personal side of social media is just like really, really awesome. But, you know, my outlook on it, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, if I feel like I'm forcing myself to do something, if I'm not being authentic, luckily I don't have trolls. I'm sure that you guys do. I haven't had to like really deal with all that. And if it's not fun, then I will just, you know, reel it in and not share as much. But yeah. And then the working at home thing, I have an office, and then I try to like do as much work in there, and I don't let myself turn the TV on. I won't let myself sit on the couch. But yeah, it's just all about figuring it out. Yeah.
Well, I turned my whole family on to a new way of decorating our living space. And it is simple, Scandinavian, beautifully designed and modern. It is Article. Article.com/almost30. We are obsessed with their furniture. They eliminate the layers of traditional retail. They keep prices low and quality super high. So there's no showrooms, no salespeople, just savings. And what's awesome is that when I ordered a bookshelf, a coffee table, and 4 chairs for our studio table. And they delivered it and put everything together. They were so helpful, so kind, and it's just shipped at a flat rate of $49. Cannot beat it. So we'd love for you to check out Article. Go to article.com/almost30 and you'll get $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more. So again, article.com/almost30 to get $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more.
Home nutrition, baby.
I mean, never fails us.
Never
truly.
fails.
I always get so excited. I have this like weird thing in my cabinet, and home nutrition actually makes it even more beautiful when I line up the rainbow, my regimen of vitamin supplements, and there's just something about it. I am understanding through their education. They're really good about educating why things are in their products, the herbs and whatnot, and how it can really help you to manage, say, for me, the Moody Bird, really helps me when I am on my period, helps manage those symptoms, because we really shouldn't be feeling those symptoms. Yeah. And I'm just really proud to have them as the sponsor. Their ingredients we trust, and so many people in our community are on the home nutrition train and loving it.
Yeah. So don't let the bright labels and beautiful branding fool you. A lot of what they have inside the products are natural, are Chinese herbs, are things like blue-green algae or chlorella or beetroot or red clover or dandelion root. They have tons of natural ingredients in everything they do. And that's why I love them so much. I didn't know that when I first started taking the products, that everything was basically vegan, physician tested, and amazing.
Yeah, really love them. So homenutrition.com, and you could take a little quiz. It'll give you some recommendations on what you might want to get, for your first purchase. And there's also, certified nutritionists there to help you navigate. And you can use our code almost30 for 15% off. So that's homenutrition.com, code almost30 for 15% off.
That leads me to my next question. So when I was in the corporate world for 8 years before we started and while we were starting, and I remember thinking about entrepreneurship, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so sexy, and everyone can do whatever they want. And it's you hang out, you can bring your computer to the pool and do work with a drink. Oh my God, this is amazing. I cannot wait to be an entrepreneur. And, now that we're in it, it's amazing, but there's a lot, there's a lot that you deal with, and there's a lot of very, very, very unsexy stuff, almost more unsexy than when I was working for someone else at a big corporate company. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the unsexy stuff that we do as entrepreneurs that can also be very gratifying. There are times when I'm talking to our accountant in Utah, and I'm like, this is kind of gratifying because I'm doing this by myself. Sarah, for you, when, you're working with Bustle or on Pieces or at home, like what is really unsexy about your job that you find to be like, okay, I'm so glad I'm doing this?
There's so much unsexiness about my job. I think that there's this like preconceived notion that being a fashion and beauty editor is like all glam all the time. And it is like, there are definitely, a lot of fun moments. Like, I get to go on cool press trips and I get to, meet founders of amazing brands that I'm a fan of. And that's all really cool. But, it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, I'm not just like getting a free facial. Like I have to go home and, transcribe the interview and make sure that like, I got all my notes and produce content and write that story. And even though like I love writing and, I feel so lucky that I have the opportunity to do this. Like it's hard sometimes, like, creating content, like trying to figure out the best angle and then also just like forming the sentences. Like, it can take like me like hours, and then sometimes there's, longer features and pieces where, it's like months of reporting and research. And so, that I feel like is the stuff that people don't realize. And obviously they don't see because I'm not like posting a selfie of myself at like 2 a.m, with like red eyes. And, but it's just the most gratifying part is that connecting with the readers and, people really, reaching out to me and telling me that they read my story and that, they learned something new and it gave them a new perspective. Like that makes it just like all worth it. And then like getting invited to do stuff like this is like so cool. Yeah.
What about you, Danika?
What was the question again?
What is the least sexy but most gratifying thing about what you do?
The first thing when you say the least sexy is I think about the sweatsuit that I wear every single day and that's covered in dog hair and it just goes on and off. My coach that I work with is like forcing me to buy like a silk set of pajamas or something that's like mildly sexier. I was like, do I wear the pink fur in the house too? I'm like trying to, faux fur, in case you thought it was a pink animal.
You're like faux fur rented.
Right. Rental, yeah. Unsexy. I mean, I started laughing in the beginning when you said that because I thought back to the early Model Meals days. At first, just, cooking everything, delivering everything. I was 6 figures. I was 3 months late on my rent. I moved into my parents' garage for 2 years and lived in my parents' garage. And I met this guy and he was actually in sober living at the time. And so like between the two of us, we didn't have anywhere to invite each other back. I was like, well, there's the garage and then kind of going... Not that you should invite the person back on the first night, but moving on. When we started the business, I think about all the different like late, super, super late nights where we're in the kitchen all day. And then we were actually packing all the boxes. And then I was actually delivering the food. And it's like midnight. Deliveries were supposed to get there at 8 p.m. And I'm like eating like a sweet potato with my hand in the car while I'm delivering. And you just have those moments of getting down and dirty. And so as I grow my business and now people look at it and they see this big business, I try to always remind people that it's not always, it doesn't go from zero to everything overnight, and you are going to have those moments. To move back in your parents' garage when you're 28 years old and you were, a big time model and you moved back in, it was like pretty defeating for a little bit. But I wouldn't change it for the world. And there's some funny moments and some not so glamorous moments, but it's been incredible.
Humbling moments too, where it's so good. It kind of brings, and I think that's what like the awareness as whether you're an entrepreneur or you are a woman in business. It's like those moments can ground you, and I think we intuitively know that that's what it is. I think, because we just having that awareness is, I think, so vital to be able to evolve and move forward. So, we've made mistakes along the way, missteps, and I'm sure you all have too, and all of you have as well. I mean, one of ours, looking back now, not necessarily a mistake, but just like we
so curious.
The name of our podcast is Almost 30. And we're, thinking that we would never age.
I'm like, yeah, literally, they're like, what do you think this would become? I'm like, obviously nothing, because I'm 30 and she's 31.
So it's one of those things we look back, and I guess like what we learn is just, we always just kind of followed our intuitive hits along the way. And while yes, we are not almost 30 anymore, it is just that metaphor for what we're talking about, and hopefully making people feel less alone when they're going through any transition. But I'd love to know, let's start with you, Jane. what missteps or mistakes do you look back on and you're like, wow, like I learned so much. That was so profound. Things like that.
Well, I think, as an entrepreneur, you're playing the long game, right? So whatever setbacks you have and whatever, times that you're not feeling great, you're playing a long game. It's not about that time, that moment, that week, that month. You have a vision that's taking you forward, or at least I believe you should. Write down your vision, see it big. Most people write the script of their journey too small. Write it big, because that's where you want to go. And see it. And put it in as much detail as you possibly can, so that when opportunities come to you to fulfill that, you recognize that is what's happening, because it's not like a shock. You're not bewildered by it. You're like, oh, hang on, this dot makes sense. Steve Jobs used to talk about making dots on paper, and they seem random, but they all join up. And I think that, I think that's the critical thing. I think that you're playing a long game. You're focusing on where you're going, and nothing seems trivial, because everything matters all the time. I think you have your own leadership style. And I think when you lead a team, my belief is you lead from the front, and meaning you're the first to go over the hill and show the troops it's safe. There's nothing you won't do. I would never ask anyone to do something that I wouldn't do myself, and that I probably haven't done myself. And so, I think that you feel like you might have made a mistake or a misstep, but you regroup, you learn from it, and you move forward. And you say, I'm not going to do that again. Probably one of the early things, we launched Dermalogica in Taiwan. And it was one of our first international markets. And they persuaded us that because, the culture was different, the language was different, the industry was different. Dermalogica's never used the word beauty. I don't like the word beauty. I think it's objectifying. And I think it narrows us. And anything that shrinks us or diminishes us, I think we have to question. So we went to Taiwan to launch the product, and they wanted to use the word beauty. Well, they actually wanted to use, Miss Taiwan as the model. I was like, no, I can't. No. We were persuaded to launch differently, and it was not a success. And after 6 months, we stepped back and said, okay, we made a huge mistake, because even though this culture and country is different, Dermalogica is not. This is a brand. This is not just a product. This brand has a voice and a personality, and we will not shrink it for anybody. This is what we want to say about skincare. It's about skin health and wellness. It's not about beauty, luxury, pampering, or indulgence. Other people can say that, and that's up to them. That's their choice, but it's not our viewpoint. And so we never made that mistake again. And every market we've gone into, we're in 108 countries now. We always go in, and every time they say, the name, we don't like it, nobody can say it, the packaging's a little ugly, whatever it is, and you have no jars, we wanted a pink jar with a gold lid, okay, fine. Then, start your own skincare company. This one doesn't change. So we listen, being patient, we go, everything you've said, we respect. However, Dermalogica is an established brand. It doesn't behave differently. And, nobody puts it in the corner. So I've led that way. I think that, when you make a misstep, you recognize it. And I believe it is usually when you have taken a step away from what you actually know to be your truth. You were persuaded that something you were thinking of doing wasn't enough, good enough, big enough, right enough, mainstream enough, thin enough, tall enough, whatever that thing is. And at some point, we have to say, I'm enough. It's enough. And I have a viewpoint, and don't ever let somebody shrink that. You bring your crazy, whatever it is. Every one of us is perfectly custom built to lead the life we're predestined to have. And if you change any bit of that about yourself, I believe that, you may lose sight of the track that you're on. And so that's sort of how I feel about mistakes. It's usually when you've stepped away. You stepped away for a minute with the best intention. You blinked. You felt awkward. You felt I'm too young to argue back on that. I'm a little too shy. I don't know enough about that. I'm foreign. I'm this. I'm whatever. No. You know your voice. You know your truth. You know what feels right to you. You know, and even if everyone else says that, no one else is doing that. Good. That means you will be the first one. You'll be unique. And that's exactly how it should be.
Thank you.
Wow. Just keep talking, please.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh.
And for you, Deepica?
I mean, really? So I feel like I'm in year one of what you did in 1986. And I feel like I make mistakes every hour of the day. And I honestly do feel like it's okay. And I think, I think back and I'm like, God, I can't wait in like 5 years to look back and feel like that was supposed to happen. Yeah. But I feel that now. And it's weird. Like, I don't sweat the small stuff, like little things that happen in the day. I'm like, you know what? It's fine. Let's move on. Let's move forward. Like, that's a learning lesson. Let's just keep going. For me, the hardest part has been team building and growing the team and knowing who to hire and like, because I want to do so much. Like, there's this big goal of evolving beauty standards, which I no longer want to use the word beauty, but
because it's identity, right?
Totally. Yeah.
It's about identity.
That's totally fair. And yeah, no, that makes me think about it. But in the holistic view of like what this industry stands for, that's a big goal. And so I feel like I need to like dwindle it down to day by day so you don't feel defeated and feel like you're making mistakes and take it as learning lessons and really have a like path to get there. And I think specifically an example that we did, so for Live Tinted, I don't believe in a blog. I don't feel like people read blogs anymore. I think we digest content through social media and like things like Instagram. And I think the way you treat Instagram can be treated like a blog post. People just do the comments on there. And so one of our series was called No Shade. And what it was a way for us to subtly call out brands who we don't feel like are doing inclusivity right. But what I learned through doing a few of those was that it led to a really negative conversation. And that is the exact opposite of what I want Live to stand for. Like, our whole goal is to bring positivity, not just to the beauty identity standard industry, but to social media as a whole. And so real quickly, when things got negative on there, we had like a regroup and I was like, guys, like, we cannot do this. Like, these conversations are going down the wrong paths and by us calling it out, it's actually only keeping the convo going. And there's other ways we can do it. So instead of calling out the brands that are doing it wrong, we focused on encouraging the brands that are doing it right and heroing them and keeping the conversation around that. But we had to go through it to learn and just apologize to like the community because it got really negative. And it's like the last thing social media needs is more negativity. So, I mean, it's just been a learning lesson though. So I don't look at it. And it's so crazy because when I was doing the influencer thing solely and now running this business and everything I want to do with it, you just start to stop sweating the small things. Like, before I would be so stressed out if like something like the image didn't get like 1,001 likes or something, crazy. But now it's like when you have such a bigger goal and a bigger dream, you start to realize these little things are so minute to your bigger goal.
Yeah, you keep that bigger picture.
Yeah. When you focus on that, all the little things start to feel like NBD.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Something that everyone in here can relate to is having a work or career, passion, whatever they're doing, and then having your personal life. So your relationships, family, friends, everything I was talking about before. How do you, ladies, this is for all of you. We can start with you, Jane. How do you balance your family, personal life and you as a human outside of the business and your big picture goals?
Well, I don't believe in balance. My mum taught me life's not about balance, it's about resilience. You can't control life. You don't know what's going to happen to you. All you can control is your response to it. And in order to have a response that will get you through it, you have to have resilience. So for me, I started Dermalogica with my boyfriend, now husband. We have 2 daughters that we raised together here in Los Angeles. It's all a big mess of, everything. Big, messy life. That's what it is, which is what I want. I want a big, messy life. I want a big mess of everything. So,
eatables.
Yeah, it's work and you bring work home. There's no such thing. People say, don't take work home. You leave your work at the door. What? That would be ridiculous. I'm busy talking about, I'm trying to develop a product. I'm like, what do you think of this? And I'm excited about it. I'm excited. I want to talk about it. And so we would talk about it nonstop. And then people would say, don't bring your emotion to work. Oh, no. You bring all of your emotion. Bring everything. Bring your whole big, messy self, because you'll need it all. You need it all. Don't take any of it away. So for me, I never think of, a work and a life and a relationship. I do everything. It was Friday night and I'm tired and it's been a long week, but I want everyone to come over for dinner. So I'd call my friends, order Indian takeout, stick it all in, sort of platters that looked like I might have sort of construed some kind of a meal. And that was it. And everyone come and then we'll just, pitch in and bring some wine or bring whatever. And none of us had time to do it, and you make time to do it because otherwise you won't do it. Mm-hmm. So I don't try and keep it balanced very much. I just try and enjoy all of it. It's messy. Don't beat yourself up because you haven't got it balanced. That's what I would say. My mum had no balance whatsoever. My dad died. She couldn't even drive a car, but she figured it out and she did a great job and never was balanced. It's just about resilience. You can do this. You can definitely do this. You were made for it. Custom built.
Oh. Crushing. Jane's the press. I want to go to whatever church you're
He's like, hold on, let me stun you all.
Yeah. I mean, I feel this idea of like work-life balance, I feel like in this day and age, it's just like when you love your work, it is your life, and that sort of feels like a balance. And
that's why you started it.
That's exactly why you started. And I think like there is a difference between balance and self-care. And I think like I don't strive to have balance in my life, especially year one. Like I know what I signed up for. I chose to do this, and I'm balancing being an influencer and doing this new CEO role that I'm figuring out every single day. And I think like you go into it with a conscious mindset of like, I know what I'm sort of like sacrificing, but that's okay. But that doesn't mean I should sacrifice myself and my self-care and priorities around that. And whatever that means, if that means, for me, it means cutting out social things. Like, I haven't been on a date in a year and a half, whatever. It's fine. I'm not bothered. I'm just saying, though, like, in my mind, I consciously, like, my friends are like, get out more. You need to go meet someone, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I wouldn't even be myself on that date if I went on it because my mind is so on my job. And, like, that's okay. Like, I'm literally building my dream life. And so I think there's a time for everything. And right now, I'm in a place where I'm I don't even like to use the word selfish, but it is about me, which is my business, which is something so extraordinary and big that I have to achieve. So, the word balance is really tricky because I don't really care to have a balance right now.
No, you're liking the whole thing.
I love it. and there are days where I like step outside and I just like need to take a big breath, but I'm like grateful because I'm literally like, oh my God, I live in LA and it's like, this is like amazing. And it's honestly little things like going outside and taking a breath is like, you realize it's like a luxury. You sometimes just forget because you work from home, literally in my garage, working all day. And then you're like, whoa, it's like midnight. And it's just like stepping out and doing that. It's like, I dreamt of this moment. So how can I really complain?
Right.
Mm-hmm. It is an epidemic. Imbalanced gut bacteria. It's just because of the world we live in now. There's toxins and things in the air, in the water, in your food. So most probiotic supplements don't correct the problem for a variety of reasons. So I know a lot of you are on probiotics, but I'm just wondering if your probiotics have the right multifunctional pharmaceutical strains of spore-forming bacteria, which survive past the stomach to arrive alive in the intestinal tract, which is the important point. So after several months of regular supplementation like this, I, for one, have seen an incredible change in my gut health. It's shown up in my skin health, as well as my mental health. Your stomach is your second brain. So this is really important to think about if you are experiencing depression, mood, anxiety, energy levels that are up and down, a compromised immune system, inflammation. Your gut tells a story. So we love Silver Fern. Silver Fern is our go-to brand for digestive enzymes, probiotics. I love their endurance energy for my pre-workout. It's a natural way to just energize, and it doesn't give me any jitters. Their products are incredibly clean and well-researched, and we trust them so much. If you haven't listened to Charity Lighton's episode, she has 2 of them. The most recent one, so emotional. She's just such an incredible woman. She is behind Silver Fern Brand. So you can go to silverfernbrand.com and use our code almost30 for 20% off your order. Highly recommend perusing the website. You can ask us what our favorites are if you ever forget, but I love the probiotic, that digestive enzyme, endurance energy. So almost 30 is the code, silverfernbrand.com. That's 20% off. Robinhood is an investing app that lets you buy and sell stocks, ETFs, options, and cryptos, all commission-free. So while other brokerages charge up to $10 for every trade, Robinhood doesn't charge any commission fees, so you can trade stocks and keep all of your profits. Plus, there is no account minimum deposit needed to get started, so you can start investing at any level. The simple, intuitive design of Robinhood makes investing easy for newcomers and experts alike. View easy to understand charts and market data and place a trade in just 4 taps on your smartphone. You can also view stock collections, such as 100 most popular. And with Robinhood, you can learn how to invest in the market as you build your portfolio. Discover new stocks, track your favorite companies, and get custom notifications for price movements so you can never miss the right moments to invest. So Robinhood is giving our listeners of Almost 30 a free stock like Apple, Ford, or Sprint to help you build your portfolio. You can sign up at almost30.robinhood.com. Again, that's almost30, almost30.robinhood.com.
I mean, when you guys asked me to be a part of this conversation and it was about balance, I felt like kind of a fraud saying yes, because I don't think that I have the right answer of what balance is or a good example of work-life balance. But it makes me feel better that you guys said what you just said. Yeah. But, you know, I think it's true. It's like, I feel like I have my dream job and I am constantly working and I work from home. So, you know, it kind of gets blurred, but I feel so lucky to be able to do what I'm doing. But, you know, I do feel like I can get really burnt out sometimes and really stressed out. And to me, like, making time to, you know, have self-care, whatever that means, you know, walking my dog or going to the gym or going out with my friends or whatever. But to me, like, the most important thing is having like a wonderful support system. You know, I have a loving and supportive husband who's here, and my best friend, Mia, and like my family and all of them, you know, they really are they're so understanding, and they know that, you know, like, I have to work like 4 or 5 nights in a row, and that's okay. I have to work on weekends and miss, you know, parties or family outings or whatever. And they totally get that because this is like my dream job. But at the same time, they are also this people who are like, hey, like, you should probably take a break. Like, why don't you take the night off? Or, you know, maybe you should go like get a massage or whatever. And I honestly think, because I'm sure all of you, you know, you could keep going and going and going. And it's hard to, you know when to stop sometimes. And so, yeah, like, I don't think that I would be like sane or successful at all without them. So even though they're here.
Yeah, you know, I feel like when I started my business, I decided I wanted to rewrite what it looked like to build a successful business, because I feel like there's this sort of myth we're told that you have to hustle and work hard and be miserable and not sleep and miss all of the things. And truthfully, I don't think it's true. I really have, yes, there's been late nights, and yes, there's been a little bit of that. But the truth is, I love what I do. And I'm smart enough to hire people who are smarter than me and delegate. Yeah. And the truth is, I really don't feel like I work that hard. And I'm not here, but it might just be because when you do what you love there's no separation. And so I don't label it work. I don't label it life. I live very publicly through social media. And so that's certainly been hard with life stuff that comes up. And it's really learning what's the difference between what's private and what's intimate versus what I can reflect on and provide value from. And I'm still learning to navigate that. But for me, I think that you can really decide and choose how you want things to run. When I started Model Meals, I knew that I wanted to be able to work remotely if I wanted to. I wanted to be able to take off and go to Asia for a few months if I want to go to Asia. And how do I put the people in place that can support that? And how can I make sure I'm in a role that's remote? And how can I make sure that I position myself where I can get in there with my team and get really close to them, even if I'm not always physically there? And so I will say it's taken me a while, and I'm a huge self-care junkie. So I have very specific tools in place to keep me in a space that I don't get burnt out and overwhelmed. So my self-care routine is number one. Like, I will not sacrifice sleep to work. It's just kind of become that. And it took me a while to get there, but I won't sacrifice it. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to do my stuff. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to do my journaling. And I built my life around how I want my life to look.
We build our companies like a bespoke suit, right? So we cut it to fit ourselves, which is exactly, that's the joy of having your own business too, and being authentic to it.
And it's also modeling for other people,
Yes.
you know, and giving them permission that you can take care of yourself as you build something that has been in your heart. And just a plug, I mean, your self-care checklist, check out Danika's.
It's on my website.
It's a game changer, truly.
Yeah.
Truly.
It's really silly. Well, it's simple. It's just a checklist of different self-care to gratitude affirmations. Every morning I write a biography of myself 5 years in the future. So I think, what do I want people to say about me? And then I write a journal entry for my future. I just woke up and today I have a sold out show at Madison Square Garden or whatever the hell you want.
I literally read hers and I wrote mine. I was like, I just woke up. I took it.
Right? Yeah. And what happens is when you tell yourself you're that, when you practice affirmations, you go out into the world that day and you make choices based on that version of you without having to do any work. It's totally subconscious. I hold myself as that woman 5 years in the future instead of what I am today, right? And our thoughts become, right, exactly. And our thoughts become our reality. This is all the after. So if I can just reprogram my mind, then everything else will catch up. And that's
so true. Yeah. I have a thing that I tell my daughters, they often repeat it back to me, that when they would say something negative about anything, about themselves especially, and I would say, you can't say that because your brain is listening to you.
Yes.
And your brain doesn't know that you're lying. Your brain just thought that what you said was true. So only speak that truth that is what you want to have happen. And then your brain is getting the cue. Your whole body takes that cue. Okay, that's where we're going. That's what we're doing. That's what's going to happen. It's so important.
Are you looking to adopt anyone? Seriously. Just curious.
Yeah.
I love this. Can we go out to dinner after this? Is that okay? I would love, I know there's, female founders out there and in here, and anyone really wanting to start something. It could be just a creative pursuit. You could want to write a song. You could want to do anything really. And sometimes we stop in our tracks because we doubt ourselves or it becomes too overwhelming or daunting. And the doing of it just doesn't seem possible. So, Jane, I'd love to ask you, if you could give advice to female founders who are just starting out, what would that be?
Don't shrink yourself. Don't shrink yourself. That is the biggest hurdle. We all have those moments where we think that we start to self-doubt, we start to self-question. Everyone does. But you must push through that. You say to yourself, what do you hear in your heart? What is it you want for yourself? What is it you're going for? Don't let someone dissuade you. People have tapes in their own heads of things that were said to them, and they repeat them. Well, how can you do that? You don't know anything about that. How can you go and live in America? You've never even been there. Well, what do you know about starting a business? You've never even had a business. I mean, whatever it is, they're just projecting their own insecurities onto you. Because perhaps for whatever reason, they didn't pursue it. And it will make them feel much more comfortable if you don't either. Because then it will prove to them that they couldn't have done it either. And so everyone's okay in their own dissatisfaction. But that's not your story. That's not what you want. That's not who you are. And so when you hear that little voice, you just tell it to be quiet. You say, okay, I know you're talking and I'm not listening. That's not my truth. That was said to me and I'm repeating it in my head and it's not a truth. And you step forward, and even if your voice is shaking and you feel nervous, you step forward and you speak up. And you know what it is you want to achieve, and you journal about it, you write about it, you see it, you visualize it. Don't shrink yourself to make other people feel more comfortable. And don't ever shrink what capacity you have for success. It is unlimited, I assure you. And the world needs it. We need it now. We need all of us now. We all feel there's something happening in the air. We all feel this sort of intangible something that's getting traction, that's getting sticky, that is shifting identities and how people want to own their identity. And it might not be what it looked like before, but it's still their truth. And we feel that gaining traction, and we've got to keep that going. And this is happening for a reason. And every single one of us is part of that happening. So you've got to stand up, speak up, don't shrink yourself, and speak up loud, because that is going to tip this whole thing over the hill, and then we're on momentum. We need you, every one of you. That's what I would say.
Did you hear that?
I was going to say the same thing that she just said.
Yeah, that was my idea too.
Don't shrink yourself.
Yeah, I needed to hear that. I'm sure a lot of you did too. Danika, what about you?
Oh gosh, I kind of touched on this, but it's about a team. It's about, I do so very little of, I get a lot of credit, but I have an amazing team of people who are aligned. And so I find that I speak often to entrepreneurs, but I also want to speak to the people who find something that lights them up and wants to support that vision, right? It doesn't, exactly, it doesn't make it any less yours.
No.
And it's really important to look into yourself and say, what lights me up? It's okay to do it that way too. So for me, I think the biggest advice, well, really is to say you're something before you are. And this can get you in trouble, so bear with me. But one time I wrote a bio that said, like, Danika's a best-selling author, motivational speaker, this thing. Someone ended up getting a hold of it. I don't know where I accidentally published it, but someone, and they introduced me like that. I was like, actually about the book. I haven't written it yet, but it will be a bestseller. In general, to say and to proclaim who you are, right? And to not, I've never had a business plan. There's never been, in my specific company, we haven't had investors. It's not the fit for us, but it's a beautiful thing if it's right for you. But for me, it's just been about starting and just doing one thing and just putting yourself out there and understanding that your business is going to change. You're going to learn so much from your customer that trying to figure out any possible thing that could go wrong or right is just a waste of time. It's just start, and you're going to learn so much as you go.
Yeah, it's good advice.
Beautiful. All right, quick fire, ladies. Get ready. Okay, Sarah, what's your favorite negativity busting activity?
I love to just sweat it out.
Work it out?
Yeah.
What's your workout of choice?
I'm a cardio girl. I love to run. I ran my first marathon last year.
Ooh.
And, it was really fun.
Amazing.
So yeah.
That will never be me. I used to write it down. I was like, I want to run a marathon this year. And then one year I was like, I've never wanted
totally
to
do it.
You change never really. It was like I saw people, I didn't have any goals of my own. So I was like, what's everyone's goal? I was like, we all want to do marathons, right?
My favorite way to sweat is just these sorts of
100%. Just do that.
Everyone over there.
Living close. Yeah, literally. Okay. Deepica, what is your favorite self-love ritual?
Oh, so this is a new thing in my life. I'm in the, I feel like the early days, you're figuring out how to do the self-love thing, but I've been obsessed with every single night writing down 3 things that I did that day, because otherwise I go to bed and I'm spinning and spinning about the things I didn't do. But if you write down those 3 things, you're like, wow, I actually killed it today. So I have this journal next to my bed, and it's because I'm trying not to work from bed anymore and with my laptop, because then there's zero any balance of any type. So writing those 3 things down now, also looking back at it, you're like, wow, I'm a badass. This is awesome. Just 3 really good things. And it doesn't always have to be work related, going to hot yoga in the day, or just even taking a meeting. It's small things, but even those small things, when you write it down, you start to be like, I really am doing this. Feels great.
I love that. Danika, favorite feel-good food or foods?
Oh, Flamin' Hot Cheetos. No. I actually do.
They are so good.
Feel-good food. I'm not going to be lame and plug my business, but that's really all I eat. I'm trying to think what else I like to eat. I like kettle chips. I feel like I'm missing, I love any sort of cheese puff.
Okay.
In-N-Out Burger. That was my first job.
Yes.
Honestly, my favorite job. Gonna be honest.
I'm really happy.
They are, and it was great.
Yeah, they do.
That feels good. That feels
great. I love that.
Okay, Jane, I wish that more women ...
I wish that more women would trust their capacity to excel bigger than they ever imagined, and most likely bigger than anyone ever told them they could.
Advice that you would give your 24 or early 20s self, Danika?
You're going to have a really hot boyfriend one day, and he's not going to mind that you're 200 pounds.
Love that.
I mean, really just that you're how I looked and my size and my weight was once I surrendered to my natural size, that my life exploded. It was when I surrendered into how I naturally was. And so that was such a gift. And to trust my intuition. We have all the answers inside of us. We just don't create the space to listen. And so we look everywhere else for answers, and we ask everyone to tell us what we love and what's going to make us happy. And we never stop to ask ourselves, does this feel good for me? So following joy has been something I'm really practicing lately is, does this light me up? Every single thing that I do, does this light me up?
Yeah.
Love that. The coolest thing about women is ... Sarah.
Well, I think the fact that we can do literally anything we want to do, and the fact that we can bring life into this world, there's nothing There's nothing that women can't do.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you can grow a whole body in your body.
That's crazy. Multiple times.
I know. I think about that.
Literally.
Probably, like you grew a whole brain in your body.
Yeah.
Like someone else's brain. And you think about that. I know. Like you grew 10 times.
Yeah.
Like 2 whole brains. and legs. Like I grew legs in my body.
Everything we do is really cool.
Deepica, what do you love about yourself and why?
I think in my whole life, so my parents are very traditional Indian parents, medical world, and they want so badly for me to achieve like the American dream, but their version of the American dream is very different from my version of the American dream. And I think back to 16-year-old Deeps versus like 24-year-old Deeps, and I just think back and I'm like, I was fearless since the beginning. I never let even my parents, who are my everything, stand in my way, because I know at the end of the day, all they really cared about was me being happy. But their version of happy just looked different from mine. And now my I walk in the house and he's watching my YouTube videos and he's like my #1 fan. And it's like, honestly, like to hear your dad say he's proud of you when all he wanted you to be was like a surgeon and go to Harvard. And then you're like a beauty girl. And it's like, but he is literally my #1 fan and gets that my purpose is so much bigger than what it appeared to be. Like there's so many people, family friends in his ear being like, what is she even doing? Like she's smart. She could go do this. She could go do that. And now he's like, yeah, she is smart. And that's why she didn't listen to me. And that's like a really good feeling. I think being fearless is like the best way that you can kind of lead through life when there's so much distraction and noise telling you that you're supposed to be somebody, but you know you're meant to be something else. And I think that's what I'm proud of myself about.
Awesome. All right, last question. Jane, we'll end with you. What is your definition of positivity?
My definition of positivity is, I said it earlier, is looking and finding the joy, even in a hard situation, because you can't choose the situations you're going to be in, but there's joy in there somewhere. Looking and finding that joy, looking and finding. The word finding and found is important to me right now. I find words come to me. You know, you've all found this. There's a certain word just keeps coming back at you, and you think, why does that word keep coming? There's a reason. So pay attention to all those kind of things. Right now, I'm very focused on a project called Found LA, which is around finding and supporting local entrepreneurs. And I find that really positive for me because in neighborhoods and communities, we find our neighborhoods and communities to be strongest when they have, entrepreneurs that are being successful. They build back our communities and they create jobs. And we often think this national situation and we may feel a little overwhelmed and out of control. And it's easy to feel negative about it and not positive. But if there's nothing we can do to control that right now, what can we do to control this? And so I'm seeing people are really becoming locally focused. It's a lot of positivity and people are getting focused in their school. They're getting focused in their neighborhood. neighborhood. They're doing what they can about their street. They're getting to know their neighbors, because this idea of this local positivity, I'm seeing it happening all over the place, and I find it really encouraging. And this idea of the local entrepreneurs bringing back that community and creating the neighborhoods. We don't want to live next door to the big box Amazon store, but we do want to live next door to that artisanal coffee shop where, you know, a mother and a daughter run it, or a father and a son have the mechanics up the road, or the florist, or the dog groomer, or the salon. And I see a lot of positivity in that, despite the fact that nationally and sometimes internationally it can feel a little out of control and negative. I find positivity in localism.
Beautiful. Let's give these ladies a hand.
I know I speak for everyone, you know, when I say that, like, you know, showing for you to speak so honestly and vulnerably about how you show up every day, how you've navigated the years leading up to where you are now, just as yourselves. And as you said, kind of the big mess. I think it's so liberating, you know, and to take the pressure off of us to be balanced, to be a certain way, buttoned up, all the things. And when really, you know, if you're working with a brand, you've created a brand, whatever it is, that like, it's people who want to connect. So like showing up as you, as a human being, in whatever form, whatever season you're in, is just, I think, the important part. So thank you for sharing.
Thanks. Thank you, ladies, so much. Thank you, Dermalogica, for hosting us. Thank you, YouTube Space LA, for hosting us. You have goodie bags outside, and we'll hang out, get some drinks, eat some food together, and we'll be hanging out outside. And then this episode will be live on Almost 30 Podcast in a few weeks. So you'll be able to listen again or send to your friends. You can find it there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
to the panelists.
Oh,
and to everyone that came.
It was so fun. I want to do that again.
I know, me too. Felt really good.
Just fun to bring people together. And we met a lot of new people that hadn't listened to the podcast, which is cool. And just kind of like talk to them about what they would want to hear and like things they are interested in. So thank you so much for attending. Thanks to the panelists. Thanks to Dermalogica and to YouTube Space LA. All right. Review of the week. Truly life-changing, 5 stars. This podcast and the community that comes with it has truly been life-changing. I found this podcast a few months before turning 29, and it has opened my eyes to so many new things. The topics are super interesting, and Kristen and Lindsay are so fun to listen to. I'd also like to note how amazing the Facebook group is. I've never felt so supported by a group of women that I've never met. They finally make me feel connected. Thank you.
Jesus Christ.
Thank you.
I mean, come on.
That's so sweet.
That's a little plug for the Secret Almost 30 Podcast Facebook group.
The best part of the internet.
Yeah, truly. And then the city groups. So we have an ambassador program that has meetups for Almost 30 family all over the country. Girls attend, and some are friends with girls that don't even listen. So it's more about creating community where you are with people that are like-minded, supportive, open, and kind.
Yeah. And if you don't see your city in a subgroup, you can email us, community@almost30podcast.com, and you can start your city's subgroup and be an ambassador. All right, y'all. Thank you so much.
Love you. See you later.
You.